We're going to wait just one more minute, guys, because I think some people accidentally joined the Teams link instead of the Zoom link. So let's just give it one more minute. All right, I think we have almost everybody. We've got 23 people, so hopefully some more people will trickle in. But welcome to the October sales meeting. Got some really great stats to share with you all. Corey is not going to be on the call today. If you were not aware, he actually got married on Saturday, so we are really excited for him. And he is on his way to his honeymoon. So we're excited for him. Send some good wishes his way. I'm sure he would be happy to see some emails in his account when he got back from you guys. So anyway, we will go ahead and get started. We've got a full schedule tonight. I'm going to share my screen and just start how we always do with your stats for October. So let me pull that up. All right. So October 22, let's start again like we did last time with the tier 1 clinics. So again, we are starting from the top. These are the clinics that have the most new patients that they have seen. I really like breaking it up like this so that you get to see, based on the patients that you've seen, how well you compare to other people that are seeing the same amount of patients. You probably know if you're in this tier, but that was a list right there. Tier 1 top 5, Chris Love in Dallas, Texas. Congratulations, Chris, with 245K. Catherine Preston in Mishawaka, our sales manager, with 218K. Shayna in Plano, Texas, with 204K. Erica Sanchez in Baderwood, Pennsylvania, or Baderwood, Philadelphia, sorry, with 157K. And then Chris Love and Fort Love again on the top 5 in tier 1 with 148K. So good job to our tier 1 folks. Our tier 2 clinics, a little less patient population, but as you will see, even some of the top salespeople for this list are pretty close to our tier 1. We've got Derek Lane. Congratulations to Derek again in Little Rock, Arkansas. He's killing it. Matt Peterson and Gahana with 127K. Good job. James Gee in Colchester, Vermont, 108K. Michael Katz in Gainesville, Florida with 105, and Michael McGill in Pembroke Pines, Florida with 103K. I don't talk to any of you as frequently as Corey does, so I apologize in advance if I mispronounced your name or if I mispronounced your location. Tier 3 clinics, same thing. You'll see some of these top people have actually matched our tier 2 clinics as well. So we'll go through those. Clara in Asheville, North Carolina with 118, no surprise there. Caitlin Mullins in Lubbock, Texas with 106K. Josh up here twice. Josh in Providence, Rhode Island with 90K, and again with a new clinic in Connecticut at 83K. So good job, Josh. gosh. And then Jason Mildenberger in Gladstone with 88K. Congratulations to you guys. You're doing awesome. Tier 4 clinics, you can see where you are there. And the top 5 for the tier 4 clinics are going to be Melanie Homer in Superior, Colorado, 96K. Amber Smith, she's up here twice as well. She's got St. Petersburg with 95K and Bradenton with 73K. Tanya Dubois in Longview, Texas, always high seller there, 91K. And Daniel Moore in Bowling Green with 73K. Good job, guys. And our tier 5 clinics not seeing as many patients, but still doing really well for what they are seeing. You know, the tier 5, that's when you've got to sell a lot of joints because you're not having as many people walk through the door. So kudos to these people. We've got Ryan, I'm not going to try to pronounce your last name, Erlixaben in Shreveport. Good job there with 68K. Abigail Wiley in Columbia, South Carolina with 45K. Good job, Abby. Michael McGill again in Boynton Beach, Florida with 43K. Catherine Ruiz in Doral, Florida with 40K. And Michael Broker in Winston-Salem with 34K. Good job, guys. And those are our top 5 for each of those tiers. Congratulations, definitely some new names this week that we haven't seen, so good job and keep that up. Total patients started was a little bit down, just 1%, but our patients seen was down as well by 89 patients. Average cost per patient, average close percentage was 42%. That is excellent, absolutely excellent, up 2.3% from last time. Really good job getting those people closed, closing the people that you see that come in the door. I love that close percentage. We kind of hovered around 39 for a while, so this is amazing. And average cost per patient down a little bit to 9,000, but with that close rate, that's you're still going to see some success in your clinic with that. So good job, guys. After this, Corey has asked if you would please send your headshots in to him. He wants to put a face with a name into your file, so to speak. So please send your headshot, professional one if you have one, one that looks semi-professional if you don't, and that's Corey at qckinetics.com. Book recommendation, actually I had to look this up because I hadn't heard of this one. His recommendation is Daniel Pink's To Sell Is to Human. I looked this up, it was pretty interesting. It was saying how one in 9 people are salespeople. And I liked this. It draws on a rich trove of social science. He reveals the new ABCs of moving others. He said it's no longer always be closing. He explains why extroverts don't always make the best salespeople, which I thought was interesting, and shows how giving people an off-ramp for their actions can matter more than actually changing their minds. Pretty renowned author. He's got a couple of other books out there, so I would encourage you to add this to your bookshelf. Today, we're going to have a couple of different discussions. We're going to have a discussion prize again, pretty sweet prize, Apple iPad Air 2. So when we start asking questions, we're going to write your names down to make sure that everyone's participating. The more times you answer, the more times you get your names down, and then we'll take a drawing at the end and see who gets that iPad. Presentations today, Margaret's going to do one on maximizing your team huddle. If you are not doing a team huddle, you are costing your clinic. And I mean that very sincerely. Every person in your office plays a part in getting patients under care. This is one of the most important things you can do to start your day right. And then Catherine and Claire are going to talk about back selling. When a patient maybe cannot afford the total cost for the package, what you can do to still get them started and get them under care. So they'll go through that. All right, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to let Margaret take over.
Hey there, hold on a second. Let me get my screen shared here. All right, hold on a second. This always takes me a minute. And of course, you're going to see everything on my sorry, I had originally had this on Zoom. Yikes, where did everything go? Give me a second.
You're good. Take your time. Catherine,
Right.
do you want to go?
Yeah, Catherine, why don't you go?
Yeah, actually, that works a little bit better for me too. Only thing is mine has some discussion in it. So we'll
Okay, I
probably,
can write the names down. We're good.
okay, awesome. Oh, but I do need Margaret to relinquish control.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yep, there you go.
Okay, so yeah, I know we said we were going to do back selling. That's a very small portion. We kind of segued this a little bit in terms of there's a lot of financial discussion that happens, especially in quarter 4, that comes up, and sometimes we don't really know how to answer it. There's a lot of things like HSA versus FSA, tax laws, and different things like that. So we will cover back selling. There's a couple other financial things. Really, the whole topic of this is truly controlling the financial conversation, especially as we enter Q4, which is notoriously a harder quarter to sell in. So starting, since we mentioned back selling, some tricks to have up your sleeve, obviously the back selling. So active dropping down a protocol to save the sale. This is something I think I even talked about it on a Sunday Scaries. When we're having a lot of patients that only qualify for partial financing, or sometimes those who kind of act like they want to test it out before they go all in on a protocol. Oftentimes I'll start them on a protocol 1, drop them back down if they really can't come up with anything else. So always be prepared to kind of use that as not a crutch, but a back sell is better than a no sale. Adding a joint. Here's another trick that we overlook a lot. Oftentimes we're forgetting that patients, they're mentioning other joints and maybe they're not deciding to go for that other joint in their first consultation. But by the time A2M rolls around, if they're in a good mood, they seem happy, or even later, ask them if they want to add one on. We get a lot of add-on joint sales just by having that conversation with patients. Partial down, again, this is kind of a last resort. Wanting to take a partial down is never ideal. It's not great for our KPIs, but again, it is far better to take a partial down, get that patient under care, than to let them go and wait to come up with the remaining. And then another trick that we use a lot is utilizing your terms in your favor. So sometimes offering a more enticing term for those who maybe say they want to finance through their own lender, or they never finance anything, or they have great credit and they don't like what we offer. Sometimes I'll throw out the 24-month no interest just to entice it enough. Like, that's a no-brainer. I already pitched them on the 12-month. They were really hesitant, decided to go home, think about it. Well, let me see, maybe I can get you a better term if I run it. So different tricks to have up your sleeve. But I do want to talk about some key things that as we enter Q4 are going to start coming up more and more. HSA versus FSA, some of the tax rules, and then just general end of year questions. So what is an HSA? As you guys know, HSA is a health savings account. This account is something that an individual would deposit money from their income, and then they can withdraw it tax-free in order to cover approved medical expenses. Now, we do take HSA. Most HSA would not have an issue with us. Some HSAs that maybe need to go about a reimbursement may need more stuff from us. But it is technically, there is a caveat for approved medical expenses. We don't have a lot of experience with HSAs not accepting it. They do not go away if a person changes jobs. These also do not expire at the end of the year. So HSA is rollover, it's continuous. So people can use HSAs from different years as well. Sometimes it can be used for a spouse or dependent. So when talking about that, it's a good thing to know that a lot of times it can be used on the spouse or dependents, and you must have a high deductible plan to qualify for HSA. So that kind of is interesting to me, especially those who are really considering surgery. Oftentimes, if they have that HSA, it's because they have a pretty high deductible. Now, an FSA is going to be a flexible savings account. This is an account where an individual would set money aside for an out-of-pocket medical expense. This is also tax-free account. The biggest difference is an FSA must be used by the end of this year's plan. So as Q4 is rolling over, some of these patients are going to lose out if they do not use what's in their FSA. Note, most patients are using HSA and FSA interchangeably. So I think you're pretty safe to say, oh, I hope you can use it before the year ends. They'll correct you if they have one that they can roll over, but a lot of times they are under an FSA. And then tax laws, this is something that's coming up more and more, especially as we're getting into the end of the year. You want to utilize everything that you can write off for taxes. So currently it is a 7.5% up. So it's up to 7.5% of your adjusted income. So that means, you know, if somebody's making 100,000, they can write off up to 7,500, so just under a P3 cost on their taxes for the year. So that is per year. It used to be 10% in 2019. This is currently what it is, that 7.5%, but it's each year they can utilize that. But patients will need an itemized invoice. Some states do have different thresholds, but the national is 7.5. So as we get to the end of the year, with both FSA and tax laws, you kind of want to have this almost use it or lose it mentality with your patients. It kind of remind them of that. I wouldn't use that as a coming right out of the gate, but if they're mentioning HSAs or they're talking about it's the holiday season and I want to wait until the next year, this might be an extra thing that you can push them, because once January starts, they're losing out on a lot of that. So this is a great time to wrap that up before the end of the year. There is a note with some of these procedures, a bulk of the treatment must be done ahead of the year end. So you may have to work a little bit with them on their invoices on that. And then for the rest of this, I just want to talk to you a little bit about some scenarios. So how we're going to do this as a group is we're going to talk about some common scenarios that are happening. And I'm going to have you guys kind of either raise your hand or shout out. Again, there's the prize. So every time you answer a question, you would be entered into the drawing. But we are curious on how you would handle each one of these scenarios. And we are going to limit it to about 2 answers per scenario, just because we have about 5 of them and we still have to get through the huddle. So we want to make sure we're using our time wisely. So our first patient, this is Bob. He is a 1099 independent contractor. He's worried about the cost of his procedure since he does not have a base salary. He insists on going home to look at his finances. Who's going to take this one? I see there's some chat. Oh. No one wants to answer this, or am I not hearing and people are answering?
Come on, guys, you can win an iPad.
Okay.
For just
Okay,
answering.
Tanisha says offer enticing financing. Tell me about this, Tanisha. How are you going to do this?
Hi, can you hear me?
I can.
Oh, okay, because I have my headset on. I thought I was going to be. So he does not have he doesn't have a base salary, and he's self-employed. So he could possibly have an HSA, or he could just want to pay out of pocket. What I do is that I let them know, 60% of the people do financing. And so I'll list the two options that I push are Allegro and Proceed, and I explain the difference between the two. And then if he's not able to, and then I tell him about the other 40%, they do, cash, check, or charge, or we could do a combination of both. And if he's still wanting to, go home and look at the finances, then what we'll do is that we'll have a talk, and I'll ask him, be straight with me. Do you mind if I talk to you like you're my uncle or my auntie or whatever, well, in this case, it'll be Bob. So like my uncle. And then we would go through, I'm like, how much can you how much do you have to work with today? And then let's just work from there. And then we can figure out a payment plan and what can you do if we divided this out into 4 payments, and things of that nature. So I would give him options that he could explore that doesn't necessarily have to do with paying it all up front at once.
Okay. So I love that you're kind of like, can I talk to you like this? You're my uncle. This is how we would handle it. Shoot it to me straight. I saw you were kind of going in the direction of in-house financing. I noticed Michael was going that way as well. He put a note in the chat. Michael, did you have anything you wanted to add to that? And Benjamin says, mention same day discount. So one thing, and again, when we're not in the room facing the patient, there's a lot of different, we're looking at a very segmented situation, I guess. But Tanisha brought up a good point. She mentioned he is self-employed. So a 1099 independent contractor is someone that probably would not have an HSA. Being self-employed, that's not something that would be offered. And he does not have a base salary. So some things that you can take out of that is someone like this can't afford to take off work. I would really chip at the ankle. There's no downtime. Really work on that. And I agree. Enticing financing, trying to get the best that they can, working with them about what you get to start. But the biggest thing on this, when you have somebody that is an independent contractor, they are watching their taxes like crazy. They're any self-employed. I mean, most people are watching their taxes, but that would be an excellent angle. I can't tell you how many self-employed and independent contractors are really, really excited by the fact that they do have the opportunity. So I saw Tanisha was writing it as I was saying it. So push the tax advantages. Yep. So that's the one thing that I think we should start to do, especially with those who are independent or small business owners. Clara, do you want to tag team this, or are you fine with me going through the scenarios? I know this was supposed to be a kind of our thing together.
It's up to you. I mean, I can read from the slide, but it's up to you.
Okay, I'll let you do scenario two.
Okay, sounds good. So scenario 2. So Sharon has an HSA, but she does not know anything about it. Says she wants to use everything she has in there, but there is no way she can get started without going home and taking a look at it. So does anyone want to volunteer how they would handle this scenario, or would you like me to go ahead and I can tell you how I would, and then you guys could go off that. I feel like it's a pretty straightforward answer.
Yeah, Clara, you got to just say, no, we can take care of all of that for you. Our front desk is very adept at working through the administration of the HSA accounts, and we can find out how much you have. And if you don't have the total, we've also got financing available for you. So make it nice and easy.
Yep. Super nice and easy. I usually will ask them if they have the card with them. Sometimes they do. The numbers on the back, they could call and ask for the balance. At that time, I usually also ask them to ask if there's a daily limit on the card and if they could increase it if there is one. So these are some problem solving things that you may run into with these HSA cards, is that they'll only allow like a 2,000 spend per day. If that's the case and they won't increase it, I get permission from them to run the card each day. So let's say I charge 2,000 Tuesday, 2,000 Wednesday, 2,000 Thursday, just to get that total amount. The other thing that I've had, and I'm not sure if this is correct because I tend to fly by the seat of my pants with this, but Allegro has allowed me to use an HSA card for debit or credit card payment for the monthly payment. So I've actually been able to register an HSA card for that monthly payment with Allegro on that final screen when you're supposed to set up auto pay. So all options. Tanisha,
Clara, I was just going to say, I can confirm I do that too in my clinic. So I always, whenever someone says HSA, I always say, oh, you can pay your care credit or your Allegro balance with your HSA.
Correct. So they actually don't need any money down to start. If they're going to finance it anyways, they could use their HSA account to make that monthly payment. They could put a full lump sum to it by linking their HSA once they know how much is in it when they go home. I just always really hone in on the fact that we do not need any money down right at this moment. We can work around that as long as I can get at least a start, get something set up with Allegro with a card attached to it. There's your close. Can write a check from HSA to self-checking. Oh, well, that's a good option too. If they have that on them. So those are some really good workarounds on that objection there. Anything else anyone wants to add to that? No? Okay. All right, you can take away scenario 3.
Okay, I apologize. I didn't realize I'm the culprit of the background noise. I'm sorry, guys. So I will try to talk very quickly and then mute myself. So scenario 3, Henry is excited to begin treatment on a full protocol free for his left shoulder. After running all financing, he only qualified for $5,000 on Allegro. And he insists that without full financing, there is absolutely no way he will be able to begin treatment. Sorry, I wrote this scenario really odd. We're assuming we've tried absolutely everything else, and that was the only qualification, was the $5,000 on Allegro. Okay, who's got an answer?
Well, Catherine, there's a couple of things that come to mind for me. One is we have, do you have a credit card? We can process a credit card on a monthly basis until you've fulfilled the balance. That is a different type of financing, but I have done that at my clinic with some success for people who capped out on, Allegro or Care Credit or what have you. And the other approach might just be to say, listen, we've had patients who have benefited without stem cell therapy. PRP is of significant value independent of that treatment. So if that's, if it's about getting you less pain, I think we can probably get you there with one of our other protocols.
Love that. Yeah, I love the back selling technique. A lot of times, I will try absolutely everything. I will spread it out for a patient, just like you said. But yeah, sometimes the pivoting to P1, I saw Michael wrote that. Jonah asked if you could get them to raise the limit. When it's a 5,000 on Allegro, there's no raising that. They're subprime. If you are someone that is giving up pretty quickly at that 5,000 Allegro, don't forget to try Proceed, because Lending Point does have a subprime lender as well, or Proceed's Lending Point is the subprime lender. Yeah.
Hey, do you know what's insane? And my front desk pointed this out to me. This has happened a dozen times where we will run Care Credit and they will give for the first time, they will give you a number that the patient qualifies for. You then immediately go and ask for an increase, and then they give you the full amount.
Yes.
It doesn't
Care
make
Credit,
any sense why they would.
yes,
Why don't they start there?
Actually, that brings up a good point. So Care Credit does do that. Now, when you're dealing with someone who is 5,000 on Allegro, they've gotten a 0 on Care Credit. However, yes, always call and ask. Same with Allegro. If it ever says additional review, every single time you call them, they end up pushing it through. Yeah, that's an interesting situation. I always encourage requesting more on Care Credit, especially if they do have a Care Credit open. And I don't have an answer to why, but if you ever have the option, like I said, with Care Credit, with any of these, in this particular situation, yeah, this is one of those where we're lucky. He's probably a 540 credit score and got approved for 5,000 on Allegro. There's also the hurdle of getting that 500 down. Let's segue a little bit. Let's talk about that. How are you guys getting the 500 down when someone only gets 5,000 on Allegro?
Taking it off the price. That's how I'm doing it.
I love that. Who just said that?
Josh.
That's what I do too. So
that is the dumbest thing ever. I don't understand that. And I've called and asked them, like, normally when someone asks for money down, that money would go to the lender to guarantee the loan in some way. They're making them put 500 down with us, which we don't care if I get that 500. So it's crazy, because when you put it in, you're actually getting a loan for 4,500, not 5,000. Yes. So we've just eaten that cost and kind of chalked it up as a small loss, but lose the battle, win the war kind of thing.
Yeah, and by small loss, I mean it's not really if that is the $500 discount. So if you're not using that in conjunction, if you're using that as the $500 discount, then you really haven't lost, because that was the discount that you were supposed to give. So yeah, love that you said that. Good catch on that. Okay, so let's move on to scenario 4. Clara, I'll let you take this one.
Awesome. Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. It's what I do. I just use it as the 500 same day start. Okay, scenario 4. So Beth is having a hard time justifying her treatment plan with us. She says she's ready to finally be done with the pain, and she has spent so much already on everything else, and it hasn't worked. So where do we go from here with Beth? How do we bring her across the finish line?
That's pretty easy. Just how would you like to pay for it? Let's get you started.
All right. So if she's saying she's having a hard time justifying the treatment plan with us because she's already tried everything else and she's still in pain, you could ask her, how do you want to pay for it? But the other thing is I try to list out all of the things that she's already done and remind her what those things did. So let's say it was chiropractor, it was PT, it was steroids, it was pain meds, it was all these things that none of them really addressing the root cause of the problem. So if she's looking for something long-term, 10 years result, this is the only way to get that, short of the option of a surgical solution, which she's already said she didn't want to.
So you're talking at the beginning of the sale. I thought you were at the end, in which case you would have already said all that. And I would just simply ask for the sale. Let's get you going.
Well, I think this is at the close where you're trying to close her, and the end here is where she's saying she's just having a really hard time justifying the treatment plan. So it's not the beginning, it's more so that's the objection at the end when you already asked for this, when you already asked for the close.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So the other thing is, let's see what other people are saying. We aren't here to mask the pain, we're here to treat the underlying problem, try to become relatable. Exactly, kind of you've done this and that, list it out. And then let's see. So tell what you exactly did and reinforce long-term results. Exactly. And then Michael McGill saying, congratulate her on taking the time to seek alternative treatment, but instead of putting a Band-Aid on it, how you would like to permanently fix this, you can start looping around to reselling the A2M, which I agree, the A2M is going to protect the soft tissue and cartilage damage from continuing. Everything else is just treating the pain. It's not taking care of the cause. So, right. So we're all kind of getting to the same thing here, is that what she's doing is she's going to save a bunch of money on all these tiny little things, $20 here at a chiro, $100 a month at a physical therapy, and then $20 a month on her pain med refill. You add that to $140 a month, that's a 60-month payment on a P2, and that could get her 10-year relief. I think there's ways to instead of making this look like one huge amount, $8,000 sounds like a lot, but when you start breaking it down monthly and all the things she will save, I think she would find it worth her time and her money to do it. So yes, is that where you go?
That is exactly where I was going with it, was, when they're paying for all these little things, kind of splitting it rather than saying this is an $8,500 treatment plan, you can kind of talk like, this is the monthly payment. You've been dealing with this for how long? And then I would still throw in that tax write-off in this situation. Like, you've already spent so much. Why don't you do something like this? You can write off X amount on your taxes. And this is what your monthly payment would be. And she can actually write off that full amount, even though she's on a payment. So yeah, that was a kind of, I'm glad you were able to figure out where I was going with that, Clara. And then finally, scenario 5, Jill says she will under no circumstance start treatment with the holiday season right around the corner. She has a huge family. No, that should say she has a huge family, which she buys gifts for. After pushing, she finally agrees to give you a follow-up appointment, but will not see you for the follow-up until after the new year. Who's got this one? Oh, I see. Tamisha has her hand up.
So this would be where we push the end of the year, the using your benefits before the end of the year, because if you do not, you could lose out, potentially lose out on a huge tax advantage. We could push that one. And we could also push it as a holiday gift, a treat to themselves, because a lot of times during the holidays, people are getting gifts and things for other people. So we could turn it around, do this for yourself, because your health is your your most valued gift, or of the utmost importance, or just turn it out to be something that they can treat themselves with.
Love that you're making it a gift. That perfect. Love that spin on it. I saw Kate, you had your hand up for a while too.
Yeah, I would absolutely tell her, look, this is a great opportunity not only to save money with your taxes, but to finance it. You can get started now, just have them front you the money, for lack of a better term. Nobody wants to spend the holidays in pain.
I like that too. I like to have them front you the money. So especially now in this economy, I joke with all my patients, why don't you borrow somebody else's money? Well, it's free. It's really hard to get free money. So the no interest, I would definitely push that. I think that was a great direction you spun that, Kate. I saw we had a bunch of chats too. So
yeah.
Oh, Amber says she would push how busy it sounds like she's going to be. Shopping is going to be painful if she doesn't start. Do something about her pain. Love that. Josh, I will answer your how to go from a P3 to a P1, because I do that a lot. Give them 45 days before the first payment. Smart, Tanya. Yes. So on Allegro, you can actually stretch out that first payment a little bit longer. So you can do that, make it feel like you're doing something. Michael says the same thing. Wow, you guys were very involved in this one. I would speak to her about how she's cared for her family. Awesome job, Rob. And then urgency wasn't stressed enough. That's a good point, Jess. So sometimes it is. Urgency wasn't stressed enough earlier in the consult, and educating on them about the fact that waiting is detrimental and she may not get the same results. So excellent. Sometimes even when you do an excellent job sensing urgency and really pounding that down, sometimes they will still say that. So having those, use your benefits by the end of the year, and really tying in the family is super important. Now, before I turn it over to you, Margaret, to do the huddle stuff, I do want to answer Josh's question. I think Claire kind of talked about it a little bit too. So when you are getting someone, let's say there's absolutely no way that they can get anything besides that minimum financing on Allegro, they're not going to start because they feel really stressed about the fact they're not getting the full treatment plan. I say, here's the deal. We were fortunate enough, you did get a partial qualification. I do see a lot of relief in patients like you in situations like yours. You are healthy. I don't have any reason to believe that our entry-level protocol wouldn't be an excellent option for you. This can get you out of pain, get you ahead of this, and then later on down the road, if you want to do something a little bit more aggressive, you can. But you also might get lucky and be one of these few that you don't need anything more aggressive, and PRP and plasma may be enough. Biggest thing is we're doing something about it now versus letting it get worse and getting you out of pain sooner than later. So that's kind of how I push through that. And I don't, to be honest, I probably do it every clinic day that we're open. I have somebody that I have to bump down. We have a lot of very, very low income, almost no qualifiers. And they're just so relieved to have something. Now, those who are really hung up and they are interested on the A2M or they are interested on the stem cell, sometimes I'll start them on the P1 and I'll say, you know what, at your next appointment, talk to me. We can work on different financing. We can decide to bump you up at a later date, or say they even go through the full protocol. And then they want to, I just had a guy that he went through a full protocol with P1, came into some money, wants to do his BMAC. So we are charging the difference of the protocol 3 and adding a plasma before and a PRP after, and getting him up to that treatment plan. So we do work a little bit with these patients, but biggest thing is get them started on whatever you possibly can. So that is all I have for that. Margaret, are you ready to go?
One thing I wanted to
am.
say,
Oh,
Margaret, really
sorry. I
quickly.
didn't even give a
Oh,
chance
that's
for
okay.
Clara
That's
or
okay.
either.
All right, one thing I wanted to say really quickly before Margaret goes is back to the when you're giving the rationale and the cost per month. I actually learned this from a different coordinator. She will give the cost per week. So instead of saying like $150 to $200 a month, which sounds like a lot, it could cost you as little as $50 a week. And that I think to a lot of people sounds a lot less to me. And I've used it a couple of times since then. And I think it's a good way to phrase it. You're taking a huge chunk and coming down until just a few dollars a week to get you there. All right, Margaret.
All right, let me see if I can do it this time. Here we go. So we're gonna go this way and we're gonna share. All right, can everyone hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, good deal. Oops, we are going to talk about the morning huddle, which is really the key to success. As Lauren mentioned, I'm gonna go backwards here. I got ahead of myself. Setting your clinic up for success. So as Lauren mentioned, if you guys are not doing your morning huddle each and every day in clinic, you're really missing a big key to success. The morning huddle does a number of things besides just preparing for the day. It really, demonstrates your leadership skills. It brings everyone together, really fostering that positive environment, which is so key. And obviously teamwork is just so important. So I think, I use it every day to kind of, just connect with everybody before we just jump into things, because there are some days we just won't have a whole lot of time. So it's a place to kind of talk a little bit more about what we have going on, what we anticipate, as well as, saying, a good atta girl, atta boy, and just really, saying how much we appreciate everyone that is there doing everything that they do every day. So let's talk a little bit more about why. Mentioned it briefly, fostering a positive environment, providing leadership. As clinical coordinators, we are the leaders within our clinics. We kind of touch so many different spots within the different area, from working with the patients to obviously problem solving. So that leadership is so key. So take that leadership role, sharpen your leadership skills, but also provide that for the clinic. Someone really needs to be in charge of kind of moving things forward. And a lot of times just setting a positive tone can change the entire environment of the clinic. Setting goals. Obviously we have sales goals, but there's also goals about, treating patients and the mission that we have to affect the quality of life of as many patients as we can. Let's not lose sight about what we do and why we do it. Yes, we're here to sell, but at the end of the day, we're really here to help patients and help give them a better quality of life. Also identifying obstacles and opportunities. And this is what I'm going to spend a little bit more time on, but I think that is so key. And that's something that we've all talked about. Yes, we've done the pre-call with those patients. We've started to develop those relationships. So we're going to have, as clinical coordinators, we'll have more information on these patients that we've gathered through, phone calls, multiple phone calls, conversations that really may help, not only close the sale, but give a better picture than the 2 sentences that we may have gotten through customer service. So identifying those obstacles, but also identifying those opportunities, but also watching out for the obstacles that may come. If a patient has, as an example, 6 joints listed, chances are we've got to find a priority. Talking about those ahead of time with our provider is really key. And then creating a game plan for the day. Obviously, we have new patients coming in. We also have treatment patients coming in. How are those going to facilitate? Are there any patients that may need to be moved out of the lobby a little bit quicker? Things like that. Just creating a game plan that is, a solid plan to go forward. And most importantly, teamwork. I think, as I mentioned before, everyone coming together at the beginning of the day really sets the tone that we're on the same page. So our patients, whether they come through the second they come through that front door, whether it's the front desk that is greeting them first, or whether you happen to be out in front, we need to make sure that we are perceived as all on the same team, providing that concierge service and really providing a great environment for these patients to come to. So let's talk about the huddle, and I broke it down into 3 different parts. So the first part is the preparation. And really, as a clinical coordinator, it's our job to complete the final round of calls with new patients on the previous day. You may have multiple calls with them, but you certainly want to touch base, prepare them for the appointment they have coming up, and gather any of that information. So that's all that preparing for that huddle so that you come to the huddle with more information. Also, it's our jobs as clinical coordinators to communicate the goals to the team within the team's channel. And this is something that we've gotten away with, or is, we've noticed, Corey noticed as well, that it's sort of dwindled. So whether you want to do it the day before, which is preferred, or the morning of, before you ever start, go into the team's channel and, go ahead and put yourself a goal. Put a goal as to how many new patients you have, a goal for whether it's a close rate, a goal for a dollar amount that you're trying to reach for. Without goals, we really don't have any sort of target to aim at. So it's really important that we do that. If we can go ahead and put that in the team's channel the day before, you can share it with your team, but more importantly, just set that as a goal for yourself. And then, kind of check in throughout the day as to where you are and where you would need to be to reach that. And then also identify potential opportunities or obstacles, as I mentioned before, and be prepared to discuss that with the medical provider. All right, second part, really leading that huddle. So making sure that all staff knows that they need to arrive at 7:30 and be ready to participate. I know schedules are crazy in the morning, but really starting that off right at 7:30 should give you enough time to set that stage and get everyone to be there and participate. Schedule should be printed and distributed by you so that we know who's coming in as a new patient, who's coming in as a treatment, how that will flow. And then review the clinical goals for the day, the number of new patients that we have, and any pertinent information that the front desk may need to know. If you've got someone that has already, questioned about financing or whatever it may be, have them, any bit of information is worthwhile information that will help you get through the process and hopefully have better outcomes. After that, the provider and staff, they can review the injection schedule. So who do you have coming back for treatment? How are we going to stagger this? Do we have any overlaps? Do we have patients? Do we have a BMAC that might be scheduled during a new patient? How are we going to facilitate that? Just so that the day goes very smoothly and that there's no surprises. And then identify opportunities for reviews or positive feedback. So if you have a patient that was in, coming back for treatment, that has been glowing about how they're so happy with their results and they're really excited, what can we do, and think of it proactively to gather, whether it's a Google review or, obviously, share their recommendation to friends and family, whatever they may do, but certainly identifying those opportunities and having a game plan ahead of time so that we can be prepared and not grabbing them as they're walking out the door. Also anticipate any obstacles, moving patients that are maybe not so happy out of that waiting room into the exam room quickly. And, really making sure that the environment that everyone comes into is a positive and warm environment. And then we talk about organizing the huddle. Really, and this is just the organization part of it, making sure the office is stocked, that all supplies that are needed for the day are available. Ask them, is there anything else we need? What else are we missing? What else are we running low on? Using that, now you have the rest of the day. If there is something, don't wait to the last minute of the day to say, oh, that's right, I've got to order it for next week. A lot of times that easily goes by the wayside. So making sure that you know those items up front and you have the day to organize that and to get those supplies ordered for the next week. And then having yourself and the provider, separating off, go into a consult room and review the new patients. Discuss uncovered information, things that were brought up during the pre-call, also probable diagnosis. Obviously, the medical provider is going to go ahead and make their own judgment. But at the same time, we're going to, if you see something that you might want to bring up to kind of preempt that, to have that discussion. It's always easier to have that discussion ahead of time than it is to go ahead and have the basically try to talk. Oops, I just went forward. Hold on. Talk them out of it afterwards, where the provider is saying, hey, I really think we need to, scale down. There could have been a discussion that could have gone ahead earlier, just to make sure that they are everyone's on the same page. Are there additional joints that the patient had mentioned before that they may want to have treated? So if someone comes in complaining of basically all over body pain, 6 joints, whatever that may be, let's prioritize that, but let's make a game plan of what they can do to go forward. And then bilateral joints, whether those are weight bearing joints, really increasing the urgency for treatment very quickly. And then obviously identifying any possible hiccups that may come your way, so that the provider can go ahead and kind of fend off any of those that you may have uncovered during those pre-call. So again, the morning huddle is really an important way for you to be able to help your clinic set up for success for the day. So I thought I would leave, because I always love good quotes, and I thought I would leave with the next, where are we at? There we go. The quote from Vince Lombardi: the challenge of every team is to build a feeling of oneness, of dependence on one another, because the question is usually not how well each person performs, but how well they perform together. So I think that's so key. We are only as strong as the weakest link. So if everyone's on the same page, a lot of times you can do things that not certainly one or even 2 people can manage. And that's it. We have questions. I saw some chats.
They were about something else.
They're out something else. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's it.
Anybody want to talk about things that work in their team huddle in the morning, or what their office staff does to prepare for the day that may be a little unique, or not necessarily unique, but you can tell that it sets the tone for the day?
I will. This is Tanisha, and one of the things that I do, and Margaret just did it, she just gave a quote. So when I'm preparing the team for the day, I actually start the preparation the day before, and I send out, I call them team huddle highlights. I send out the highlights, and at the end of the highlights, there's always a teamwork or a motivational quote that will be the focus for our clinic week. And so I put that on there. And then of course we have like a little mini discussion about it after we finish our team huddle the next day. And so I started that, I guess it's been about a month ago now, and it works. It works. We all get in the same mindset, and it's it's like go break. When we get through with our team huddle, everybody has that on their mind, and everybody is reminded of why we are here. And why they got into this particular business that they're in, because they're all CMAs, PAs, providers, the provider themselves, and then there's me. And I'm not a medical professional, but we are all in this for one particular reason, and it has to do with other people and not ourselves. So it's just a constant reminder that we do at the end of every huddle.
Awesome. I love that. Love that. All right. I think Catherine was going to answer one of your questions, Ben, if you're still on.
Okay, yeah, I'm not sure if Ben's still on or not, but I did see very early on, you said, I'm almost positive that you specifically have to hit that 7.5 threshold for tax. You're correct. So I just wanted to make sure that I was clear with everyone on that. You do have to hit that 7.5% threshold in order to write it off on taxes. So you have to have medical expenses that exceed that in order to be able to deduct that. You're going to kind of play chess with this, I'm going to be honest. So when you're talking to them and you're getting their financial information, because more often than not, you should be writing like Social Security and stuff like that on a form before you bring it up at the front desk to keep it smooth. That's something you can get in the habit of asking in the room. So I just need a couple pieces of documentation as we're running financing, just need your social, your annual income, and then you can quickly be figuring out in your head, okay, this is where he's at for annual income. And then you know if you can bring up that tax write-off. It's also okay. You're not tax experts, and that's okay. And patients aren't expecting you to be. So even just knowing that there's that 7.5 threshold and being able to say, yeah, I know a lot of my patients are writing it off on their taxes. I mean, that's a conversation that between them and their accountant they could have if they don't meet that threshold. But I think it is still a good trick to have up your sleeve. And then, so that's all I have on that. And then Tanisha, I have to apologize because I dropped a syllable from your name when I was saying your name. So I apologize that I was pronouncing it wrong this whole time. You should have corrected me. And that is all I
No
have to say.
No worries.
Okay, I'm sure I butchered a lot of names in the beginning and cities, so no worries. Yeah, and what Catherine's talking about, if you, I mean, that's part of your prep work, right? Like if you know there's a person that's they're own their own business, small business owner or whatever, go ahead and have that in the back of your mind, because that's usually something that's really important to them. And I usually throw that in there at the last minute. All right, so we've got about 3 minutes left. So this is perfect. I've been shaking this cup for about a good 5 minutes now. I just, every time anyone contributed to the conversation, your name went into this. We've got about 30 different names. So the more you comment, the more times your names go in here. So keep that in mind. I'll shake it a little bit more and we will see who our winner is of the iPad. Our boy Ben Rippey. Ben, thanks for participating so much.
No way.
Yeah,
Oh,
Ben.
yes.
Congrats. We will probably have to wait for Corey to get back from his honeymoon to get this to you. Sorry. But we will be sending it your way. So thanks everybody for their participation. We really do appreciate that. It makes it a lot more interesting, and always love to hear different perspectives. We'll have this recording posted. It usually takes a couple days to upload, so we'll have it posted probably in a week, maybe a couple days longer or so. In the meantime, if you're new, I encourage you to go back to the other recordings, listen to some of those. There's always some really good tricks of the trade in there. And everybody have a great week. It looks like October's off to a really, really good start. So really proud of you guys and the hard work, really proud of that 42%. Let's keep it there and keep aiming for 43 and have a really good last quarter of the year. I'll talk to you guys soon.